For the first time, the FDA has approved a drug derived from the marijuana plant. The unprecedented move is designed to help patients with a rare form of epilepsy. John Shumo has more.
Hey, Lily.
Say hi.
Kaba, hi.
Lily Gilmore started having seizures when she was 6 months old. Doctors later diagnosed her with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, a rare form of epilepsy.
You know, the first 3 years, I would say, was devastating. You know, I didn't know anything about seizures. I didn't know what life was going to be like.
Lily, who is now 17 years old, was having hundreds of seizures a week. The drugs she was taking weren't helping, so Lily's parents enrolled her in a study at NYU Langone Medical Center. 4 years ago, she started taking a drug called Epidiolex, with an active ingredient derived from marijuana. Her awareness and alertness increased and the seizures decreased.
I think for us, you know, any little teeny bit of relief we might get with the seizures is huge.
We're gonna stop it right there. And lady, I don't know who you are or what you know, but you don't act like you're very smart. All right? We didn't know what seizures were. I mean, is this lady even real? I hate to discount people like this, but when you're talking about whole plant cannabis versus whatever this shit is, they say it's highly refined CBD, yet they say it tastes like strawberry cough syrup, and it has, I mean, and the side effects look like something that big, like any other big pharma side effects. I've never heard of CBD having the same side effects. We'll get into that later, but what is the deal with these people that are in these trials anyway? I thought, now I've been following this story for years on Epidiolex, or whatever you call it, and it's GW Pharmaceuticals, the same company that makes Sativex. And again, it's another one of those deals where they just take one compound, which in that case it was THC, where they made it into a mouth spray or something. I don't think they had FDA approval for that, but FDA did give them approval for their trials in Israel for this. And furthermore, this isn't like the biggest news for the FDA approving marijuana related compounds. Remember? Does anybody remember? Just last year they gave approval to you know, the same people that put $500,000 against the effort to legalize marijuana in Arizona. Insys Pharmaceuticals, they were approved for synthetic THC trials. So we're moving towards this thing where the FDA is going to work with you and approve certain medicines made from the marijuana plant, as in, we're not going to approve marijuana ever. We're not going to ever approve whole plant cannabis. We're going to demonize it every way we can. And this is another way they do that. Is they say, "Oh, look, if you take the CBD out and then you refine it in a lab and you make it this thing that we call Epidiolex, then it's okay." Forget about all the people that have been refining their own CBD and making strains and doing this for years. And forget about the fact that people have found out that CBD alone is not enough to stop the seizures and to make someone's life improve 100%. So let's go ahead and watch the rest of this video, and I'll read a little bit of the story, and we're going to be done with this one.
Is huge.
Epidiolex is now the first cannabis-based drug to receive approval from the FDA. Its active ingredient is cannabidiol, or CBD, a compound in the marijuana plant.
It represents a new chapter, a landmark for therapy in the United States for epilepsy.
Dr. Oren Davinsky is a lead investigator in the research.
Many of these children and young adults had significant reductions in their most severe and dangerous seizures.
Side effects may include...
That's interesting, because from what I've heard from people that use whole plant medicine or THC and CBD based seizure medicine that have been made, the results are way better than just what he said. What did he say again?
And dangerous seizures.
Side effects may include in the research.
Many of these children and young adults had significant reductions in their most severe and dangerous seizures.
That's just not good enough. I mean, it's great. It's great news, but you're just talking about reducing the number of the most severe seizures. You didn't even say you reduce the number of seizures overall or get rid of the ones that aren't severe. Or am I missing something here?
Side effects may include tiredness, decreased appetite, and diarrhea.
I've never heard of CBD having those side effects. In fact, quite the opposite. I've heard CBD is good treatment for all of those things. So how do you take something that nature had right, you grow it, you extract it, and then you take it in your lab and do something to it, and now all of a sudden it gives you these side effects? I'm not sure if I don't get that.
The drug does not cause a marijuana high.
And that is just the most annoying thing that they keep mentioning and bringing up and making it like that's the reason why we got to be careful with THC and not. Who gives a shit about high when you're talking about life-threatening seizures?
For us, having, a day or 2 days a week where she doesn't have seizures, or she just has one when she goes to sleep at night, is a relatively good day for us.
Okay, I agree. That's great. The reduction is great. Life is easier for you, and you don't have to worry about your daughter or whoever your daughter dying from a seizure, perhaps. But wouldn't you think that if there was something out there that works for others as far as getting rid of the seizures altogether and returning your daughter's life to normal, or giving your daughter a normal life for the first time ever, don't you think that would be something worth checking into?
Dr. Davinsky hopes the drug will be available in pharmacies by the end of the year. John Schumo, CBS News, New York.
Money. They want the money. They want it now, or by the end of the year, whenever. Let's see here. What do I got? All right, so there's a few things here. The strawberry flavored syrup is a purified form of the chemical ingredient found in the cannabis plant, but not the one that gets users high. It's not clear why the ingredient called cannabidiol or CBD reduces seizures in some people with epilepsy. Well, here's an idea. Every time I hear that, and every time I hear that we don't know why THC works either, I think you guys are just you're lying. You know why. Because the human body has an endocannabinoid system in it, and the CBD and THC and other components, other cannabinoids, affect the CB1 and CB2 receptors that exist in every single cell in your body. And there's a super high concentration of these receptors in the brain and in the nervous system. The things that causes seizures is a breaking down of that connection between the brain and the nervous system. As far as I know, I mean, there's a lot of things that cause these rare diseases have, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but what I do know and what I can help these people understand is that you got to be more honest with us. You got to tell us that, even if you didn't know that, well, we don't know how this works, but it works. You can at least talk about the endocannabinoid system for 1 minute, can't you? GW Pharmaceuticals studied the drug in more than 500 children and adults with hard-to-treat seizures, overcoming numerous legal hurdles that have long stymied research into cannabis. Excuse me. FDA officials said the drug reduced seizures when combined with older, epilepsy drugs. So now we hear that. That's something that they didn't say up there when they were talking about it. So now you're telling me that this shit don't even work unless you use it with older epilepsy drugs? And maybe that's where those diarrhea, sleepiness, headache side effects are coming from. Who knows? I want to know, did anybody in this 500-person trial, did anybody even do just the Epidiolex and not the older epilepsy drugs? Because anytime you hear the government or anybody in the government or the medical community finally give in and say, okay, we should go with medical marijuana, You know, it's like after they exhaust all the other options. And that's just not acceptable. We're talking about life-threatening seizures here. This is all ridiculous. Let's see. The FDA has previously approved synthetic versions of another cannabis ingredient for medical use, including severe weight loss in patients with HIV. That is the one that, you know, Incest Therapeutics, the synthetic THC. And, yeah, I wonder how that's working out for you. Epidiolex is essentially a pharmaceutical grade version of CBD oil, which some parents already use to treat children with epilepsy. CBD is one of the more than 100 chemicals found in marijuana, but it doesn't contain THC, the ingredient. God, man, they mention this over and over again. We knew this. I mean, the CBD's been known for a little while now, and it's a pretty popular thing. It's not a cure-all, and it doesn't, you know, work the best on certain things. You know, like, for example, I'm not going to spend $40 for some CBD because someone says, oh, this works better than aspirin on headaches. Yet, you got to take the whole $40 worth or even $20 worth to take care of your headache. That's not right, dude. So either we got to adjust the price of CBD because it shouldn't be fucking expensive as hell, because it just shouldn't be. There's just absolutely no reason for it to be. Extracting CBD is about the easiest thing you could possibly do. Am I happy about this thing the FDA just did? Not really. You know why? Because I don't give a shit. This is for GW Pharmaceuticals to rake people over the coals and make millions of dollars, billions of dollars, in fact, off of sick kids. Mostly, because let's face it, if some of these epilepsies go untreated, the average lifespan of somebody with Dravet's or this other one, and they don't even mention them. But anyway, it's another really rare and really devastating form of epilepsy, and your life expectancy is about 20 years if you have one of these rare form of epilepsies. So this is hardcore. You know, you need to treat these people, and this is, you know, this baby step here is fine if you like incrementalism, but we have people that are having these seizures now that could die right now. Now we got these same people or some other people, and we got the doctors. Let's just check this out. Quote, physicians say it's important to have consistent government regulated version. So, I mean, is that an accident that they put that in right after talking about not having the mind altering effect of THC? And they really haven't done it yet, but what they're kind of hinting about is that stuff you get there out in the streets or at the dispensaries probably might have THC in it. That's going to get your kid high. You don't want to do that. I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing. No one ever mentions that CBD counters the effects of the THC. No one ever mentions that. So if you put enough CBD versus THC in your ratio, you effectively don't get high off of the THC anyway. But the THC is highly medicinal. So, you know, hey, let's just scare people with the fact that it gets you high, and then make people think that you really need this super clean government regulated version. Physicians say it's important to have a consistent government regulated version. Quote, I'm really happy we have a product that will be much cleaner and one that I know what it is, said Dr. Eileen Wirrell, director of the Mayo Clinic's Program for Childhood Epilepsy. In the artisanal products, there are often a huge variation in doses from bottle to bottle depending on where you get it. That's absurd. First of all, CBD is not harmful, toxic, doesn't get you intoxicated, doesn't cause any kind of sleepiness, drowsiness, vomiting, anything. There's no ill side effects if you take too much CBD, which is more than you're supposed to take care of your seizure or whatever you're taking the CBD for. That's the good thing about it. Is if it's like, oh, I got this thing I'm going to put the CBD for. You don't need, you know, to sit there and worry about how much of a dose you do. Or, oh yeah, this is the right dose here. That doesn't make any sense. If a kid's having a seizure, you give them the CBD oil until they're not having a seizure anymore. I don't get that. So, and she's saying, oh, you don't know what's in it. Whatever. Who cares? It isn't like if it's commercially made and somebody tested it somewhere, you do know what's in it. How many dispensaries are selling CBD products that don't tell you what's in it? That's a bold-faced lie. And she acts like she works with it, and they got this name for this shit. Artisanal products. You know, because people that make this stuff at home and are trying to break into the industry, that's who she's going to get her medicine at the Mayo Clinic. Give me a break, lady. We know that the only CBD products you get have labels on them already and have been tested in labs and are manufactured by somebody who's been manufacturing these products for years and have built their reputation around their products and company because they are safe and there is no inconsistencies and there is no weird ingredients that you have to worry about. So that's just all lies right there that she's saying. This is just a commercial for Epidiolex. Here's some side effects again. Diarrhea, vomiting, fatigue, sleep problems. I want to know if anyone that takes CBD, whether it's hemp-derived or Charlotte's Web or, you know, Cannatonic or anything like that, people that take CBD oils or, you know, smoke a lot of CBD flower or whatever, man, have you ever experienced any of those side effects? Please let me know if you have. I mean, I'm not going to go on a super hardcore rant, but these sound like bullshit. This sounds like you should not get these side effects. Several years ago, Allison Hendershot considered relocating her family to Colorado, one of the first states to legalize marijuana, and home to a large network of CBD producers and providers. Her 13-year-old daughter, Molly, has suffered from severe seizures since she was 4 months old, but then Hendershot learned about the trial of Epidiolex at New York University. Ugh. Sorry about the stumbling through that paragraph. Quote, I preferred this to some of those other options because it's a commercial product that has gone through rigorous testing. Again, said Hendershot, who lives in Rochester, New York. Now, this is funny because GW Pharmaceuticals has been known to lobby to legalize medical marijuana around the country and around the world, because they want their product to be able to be used in the maximum amount of places. So while they've been in trials, they've been, quite frankly, helping movements to get marijuana legislation through. And, you know, it's almost as if they want to do that, and then at the last minute, they're going to pull the rug out of everybody that's doing these artisanal products. So again, let's break her sentence down. She's talking about those other options, whatever that means, because it's a commercial product. So again, you're trying to tell me that all these people like Charlotte's Web and all these other people that have built their company and reputation around the safety of the product that they have invented, you're telling me that they're not commercial products just because they are sold in a medical marijuana dispensary or something? Like, what are you actually talking about? I think what you mean is that your insurance pays for this. I'm not sure if insurance pays for drugs while they're on clinical trials, but I don't think you have to pay for them. But whatever the case is, uprooting and moving to Colorado does seem a little extreme for someone in New York. So I'm just going to say that she was looking for the least path of resistance to get her daughter something. But God, how can you trust some untested, like, oh, we're going to start testing now. Would you like to test? As opposed to like Charlotte's Web, where they've been using it for years now and with success. Or something like Charlotte's Web, Haley's Hope, or whatever else there is out there. You know, I keep falling back on Charlotte's Web because like everybody knows that story because of the Sanjay Gupta thing. But there's several other people that have made products similar based on strains that have different variations of ratios between THC and CBD, but also other cannabinoids and other compounds in it that help overall with seizure and seizure recovery and prevention of seizure. So there's a lot of things to this that, you know, when you're talking about Epidiolex, it's just CBD, and it's just not enough, man. Since receiving Epidiolex, Hendershot says her daughter has been able to concentrate more and has had fewer drop seizures in which her entire body goes limp and collapses. Well, I will refer to Alexis Bortel, who for 4 years has been doing THC and CBD based medicine. I don't know if I got that right. She had an anniversary recently where she said that it was the THC and the CBD that made it so she actually stopped having seizures. You know, whereas the CBD only stuff was fine. It was making her have a lot less seizures and a lot less severe seizures. But overall, what stopped her from having seizures and being able to live a normal life was the THC and CBD and whatever else is in the medicine that she takes now. So, I mean, I'm just going to say that this is just a commercial, and I don't know how true these stories are. But if this is 100% true, it sounds like Molly needs more than Epidiolex to me. It sounds like that's just not enough. All right, so Lily Gilmore started having seizures when she was 6 months old. Quote, the first 3 years of her life, I would say, were devastating. I didn't know anything about seizures. I didn't know what life was going to be like. Lily's mother, Natalie Gilmore, told CBS News. I got to the point where Lily, now 17, it got to the point where she was having hundreds of seizures a week. After her parents enrolled her in Epidiolex trial in New York University, her awareness increased and seizures decreased. For us, any little teeny bit of relief we might get with the seizures is huge, Natalie said. This is a reoccurring theme I'm hearing from these people that were in trials. I really wish you would go one step farther and see what else will work. Because it seems to me like the CBD's only making the seizure medication that they already are using work better. CBD oil is currently sold online and in specialty shops across the U.S., though its legal status remains murky. Most producers say their oil is made from hemp, plant in the cannabis family that contains little THC and can be legally farmed in a number of states for clothing, food, and other uses. The immediate, pretty soon that'll expand because hemp will be able to be produced in CBD derived from hemp will be legal, despite what the FDA thinks they can do, and I'm about to go through that right now. The immediate impact of Monday's approval on these products is unclear. FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, suggested the agency would be scrutinize CBD products with uncertain dosages and formulations. So he's going to start cracking down on those CBD products that I was talking about just a minute ago. I am 100% sure that that's what that sentence there means. So if you see them kicking in the doors to some farms in Colorado and, you know, again, Charlotte's Web gets busted in on, don't be surprised, because he just said they're going to scrutinize CBD products with uncertain dosages and formulations. We don't even know what that means. Uncertain dosages is a farce. A dose just means that the federal government can monitor every penny that is being generated in increments that they can, you know, actuate into taxes and money or whatever. Because, you know, quite frankly, this is all a corrupt system and it's all garbage. We've known marijuana was medicine for 5,000 plus years. All of a sudden we gotta like impress you with FDA trials or something. Give me a break. And you're gonna sit here and pull one compound out of a plant and be like, oh yeah, but it's still a Schedule 1 plant. When Schedule 1 says, oh, there's no medicinal value to it. Well, are you kidding? And now you're just gonna, make it, well, the plant has a lot of different compounds, so we gotta you can't have the whole thing. You can only have one thing at a time. I mean, it's basically just like totally like a fishing license kind of thing. Like you can only catch 3 fish. Sorry, buddy. We need to know what the doses are so we can charge properly and we can make sure that everybody pays their corrupt, envelopes properly or whatever. Back to the article. He said, actually, Gottlieb, we are prepared to take action when we see illegal marketing of CBD containing products with serious unproven medical claims. Unproven medical claims? They just proved the medical claims for us. What more do you need? So he's just saying, well, okay, if it has CBD in it and it also has something else in it, well, then that's out of our purview of the Epidiolex trial. And that's, again, how I said that they demonize everybody else. They're like, oh, look, if you just take the CBD only out of it, it's good, it works, and it's safe. There's nothing dangerous about anything in any of the compounds of marijuana. My guess is if you sit here and try to bastardize them and pull them out and individually use them one by one, you might get some weird side effects. Maybe that's why we were seeing those weird side effects up there, because all you had was the CBD. You didn't have anything else to go with it to smooth out that. Just like CBD makes it so you don't get as high off the THC or just nullifies it altogether. Maybe THC makes it so you don't diarrhea and have headaches all day after you do your CBD dose. Who could know? I'll tell you this, we didn't care before because there wasn't no side effects. Now this goes back to when the FDA was yelling about, oh hey, don't be making your labels with CBD saying it cures cancer or Alzheimer's or anything. Only products that have received formal FDA approval can make such claims, typically requiring clinical trials costing millions and taking years. But we don't care about that because we more or less look at cannabis as an herb, not a drug. So that the Food and the Drug Administration doesn't have jurisdiction over herbs and plants. When are you dumbasses going to get that through your fucking thick skulls? I don't understand how you can just pull a plant and be like, that's illegal. The cocaine hydrochloride isn't even a Schedule 1. That's a Schedule 2. But the plant isn't. The coca plant isn't listed as a Schedule 1 fucking drug. It doesn't say the coca plant and all its components are a Schedule 2 drug. It just says cocaine hydrochloride is a Schedule 2. Most CBD producers sidestep the issue by making only broad claims about general health and well-being. Well, I got news for all the CBD producers out there. You don't have to make any claims on your labels. You don't have to make any claims in your marketing because everybody already knows. Everybody that's going to buy your product already knows all that shit. Word of mouth is doing plenty of good for you. You don't need to worry about putting anything on your label. Who cares anyway? Who's going to go to the freaking dispensary just to look at labels and see what kind of claims you're making? Nobody. I don't think there's really too many, I don't see like too many CBD manufacturers just putting it out there like, hey, this cures cancer, bro. Buy it up. And if you did see that, I probably wouldn't buy it because nothing cures cancer, dude. Industry supporters downplayed the impact of the FDA approval. Quote, I don't know a mom or dad in their right mind who is going to change what's already working, said Heather Jackson, CEO of Realm of Caring, a charitable group affiliated with the Colorado-based CW Hemp. one of the nation's largest CBD companies. Quote, "I really don't think it's going to affect us much." Jackson's group estimates a typical family using CBD to treat childhood epilepsy spends about $1,800 per year on the substance. And I think that's a little bit high. Believe me, it's a little bit high. But currently, in the current climate that we work in, even if you're making your CBD out of hemp, it's going to be a little bit expensive to get the product out there. But still, I still think $1,800 a year is high. That's just me, though. You know, that's a little over $100 a month. And I mean, that's not bad, but I don't know. This is life-saving medicine, and it runs like the rivers if you have a field full of hemp. It really does. A GW Pharmaceuticals spokeswoman said the company would not immediately announce a price for the drug, which it expects to launch in the fall. Wall Street analysts have previously predicted it could cost $25,000 a year, with annual sales eventually reaching $1 billion. Now, I've heard other estimates. In fact, that's the lowest estimate I've heard so far. So good luck with that being a reality. But if I think $1,800 a year is a little high for CW hemp, which I know works 100% and probably has stopped seizures in a lot of patients. I haven't really read any testimonials or seen any evidence of that, but I'm just going to guess that when they make their product and it still has traces of THC in it and other cannabinoids, then they're making a better product than GW Pharmaceuticals has put together. For their part, GW Pharmaceuticals executives say they are not trying to disrupt products already on the market. The company has pushed legislation in several states to make sure its drugs can be legally sold and prescribed. The FDA approval for Epidiolex is technically limited to patients with Dravet and Lennox-Gastaut syndromes. That's the one. Two rare forms of epilepsy, for which there are few treatments, but doctors will have the option to prescribe it for other uses. Here's the most important thing that might help us in the long run, because once this happens, how can you still consider cannabis in Schedule 1? And that is this. Before sales of Epidiolex can begin, the Drug Enforcement Administration must formally reclassify CBD into a different category of drugs that have federally medical approval. So it has to go to a Schedule 2, 3, or 4, or be taken out of the CSA altogether. And when you do that, you just admitted that the marijuana plant is not a Schedule 1 item. And if you want to continue to say THC is a Schedule 1 item, how you doing that? You approved a synthetic THC just a minute ago. I don't understand how you can say a synthetic is one thing. I mean, it's not like they don't make opioids out of actual opium extracts. They do. Opiates, I believe they call those. And I think you can find morphine is one of those, as well as your codeine, and there's other mainstream things that are derived from the plant. I think, I'm not positive on that. That's just what I've been understood. GW Pharmaceuticals makes a drug in the UK from cannabis plants that are especially bred to contain high levels of CBD. The company plans to continue importing the medicine, bypassing onerous U.S. regulations on manufacturing restricted substances. So they fought for everything except for the ability to manufacture their plant-derived CBD here in America. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all the help. That was really nice of you. And one more quote from Scott Gottlieb. He's basically, this is what he's got to say. This approval serves as a reminder that advancing sound development programs that properly evaluate active ingredients contained in marijuana can lead to important medical therapies, and the FDA is committed to this kind of careful scientific research and drug development. No, you're not, Scott Gottlieb, whatever. You're not dedicated to shit, because this is basically saying that we're not going to look at whole plant medicine. We're not going to look at whole cannabis as being medicine, because we can't cut it into doses, and we can't do this and that and make, you know, you basically are setting this up so that each component that you say you can make a medical product out of, like this, or like the one for appetite, which is a synthetic THC. Whenever you're talking about doing these things, you're talking about making some company, pharmaceutical company, get protected style monopoly on a certain product. So if you guys start going out and cracking down on Charlotte's Web and Haley's Hope and shit like that, what are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to think? That you guys are protecting a monopoly of a drug company, and it sounds corrupt as hell, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's some ways you can connect some dots and say, yep, this shit was shady as fuck. Just like incest therapeutics, shady as fuck. So I wouldn't even mind, you know, like, you guys to actually study the whole plant marijuana thing at the FDA. I mean, come on, why not? Let somebody do that. Get off your ass and let somebody do that. This is, when you don't do that, you're proving my point that you guys are just setting up mini monopolies for every compound. Next week we'll have the THCV company. It'll be some other, you know, something pharmaceutical, GHB, and next thing you know it, they'll make some drug that's just this or just that. Just one little piece of the plant, just one little piece of the puzzle, that if you use the whole puzzle, it works. If you just take one piece of it, who knows what the side effects and if the efficacy of it is. So I think, you know, this is just not making me happy. I guess, you know, if you watch this channel a lot, you start to realize that I'm pretty much like the grumpiest, most unsatisfied person there is when it comes to all these things going on lately with marijuana reform, because it's just the overabundance of caution is complete horse shit. We all know that this is the safest substance known to man, as far as when it comes to drugs or substances that you can get high on, for example. So we have the safest one that there is, and yet you want to make it so we have to go through the FDA process of approval for every little compound in the drug. That's just ridiculous. I don't like it. Not sure if I like GW Pharmaceuticals much, but I don't trust the FDA. I don't trust these people that they talk to in that story on CBS, and I definitely don't like Scott Gottlieb. That's all I got on this. Have a good one.